Welcome to the Endurance Horse Podcast, where endurance riders from all across the globe gather, sharing their stories, goals, and progress as they train for and compete in endurance events at every level. So kick off your shoes, pull up a chair, and listen as we gather around the virtual campfire and listen to friends from across the world. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Endurance Horse Podcast. I am your host, Christina Hike, and we are so excited to celebrate the Year of the Horse on Endurance Horse Podcast. In honor of Year of the Horse, we will be highlighting a different breed each month, and this month we're shining the spotlight on the Missouri Fox Trotter. Fox Trotters are known for their smooth, efficient gait, steady minds, their ability to cover ground comfortably mile after mile, making them wonderful partners on the trail and becoming increasingly popular in distance riding. Today, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Ashley Sansome on the podcast. Dr. Ashley is a veterinarian, an endurance rider, and with her Missouri Fox Trotter, Barney's single shot, we'll be talking with Dr. Ashley about her journey into horses, endurance, and what makes Barney such a special partner, what Missouri Fox Trotters bring to the endurance trail, and her advice for beginners hoping to achieve long-term success with their horses, no matter what breed they ride. Be sure to stick around to the end of this episode because we also have a free gift for you, for our listeners, as part of the Year of the Horse celebration. So grab your favorite drink, settle into a comfy chair, and join us around the virtual campfire as we get to know Dr. Ashley Sansome, Barney's single shot, and the wisdom that comes from a decade of miles together. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podcast Dr. Ashley Sansome, veterinarian, endurance rider, and AERC Decade Team rider. So today on Endurance Horse Podcast, I'd like to welcome Dr. Ashley Sansome. I am so happy to have you as a guest, and thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me today.
I'm happy to be here, Chris.
Here's my famous first question, which is everybody's favorite, I think. It's mine. But how did you get into horses?
Well, I was obsessed with horses from the age of, I don't even remember. When I was 5 years old, my parents didn't know anything about horses, and they got me a 3-year-old. So not a good idea. But it all worked out in the end. But I was obsessed. I don't even remember the first horse that I saw. I was just immediately obsessed from my first memories.
So then the second part of this is, how did you find endurance riding?
I first heard about endurance when I was in veterinary school, and Jerry Gillespie was a professor, and he put up a sign-up sheet for the vet students to go do P&R in Santa Cruz. So I signed up for that and went down to Santa Cruz and had a wonderful time. I was fascinated by the horses. I didn't really know the difference between ride and tie and endurance at that time, but I loved the fact that we were examining the horses and being sure that they were okay and good to go on back on the trail. And it was great. And I just knew at that moment, this is my sport. It did take me many years to come back to it because I was 50 years old by the time I actually started doing endurance. So, but I was fascinated from the get-go.
That makes me feel so good because I'm a little over 50 right now, and I've had to put my endurance hopes on pause for a long time. And I'm thinking, yes, I will re-enter there. And so look at, you started after 50 and you have a decade team horse. So you've encouraged me already. So I know you're going to be encouraging some of the listeners. Because sometimes you think, oh, time's gone. I guess I missed my time to do this thing in life, whether it's, learn music, do endurance riding, travel, whatever, but it's not really true.
No, it's not. You can definitely do it. I've done it for 20 years now, from the ages of 50 to 70, and it's been great. Now, my body didn't do very well. It was like, 50 and you're going to start riding again after 30 years. So that was why I actually ended up going to gaited horses, was because I could not post on the Arabs. my
Mm-hmm.
knees, I have knee problems, and they would swell up, and it was painful, and I couldn't do it. So I ended up going to gaited horses in endurance.
Which is like, why not? Why not have a smoother ride? It makes complete sense. Before we got off of how you started endurance, I wanted to ask, why just stick with it? You had so many other things you could do. What was it about endurance that made you go, this is my sport?
I love horses, obviously, and I love being outside, and I love trail, and it just all, that's what I want to do. I did mountain bike for quite a bit, but that was also really hard on my body, so I ended up, going back to endurance. But I love it. I just think it's a great sport from a veterinary perspective. I think it's fascinating, and it's just great.
What's your favorite part of ride camp? Because for me, I feel like it represents a band of traveling gypsies, and it's so fun to go to ride camp and you're like, oh, that's so and so's rig, and you're all the same people and you just move to different camps, and it's just kind of cool, I think.
It is, yeah. Ride camp is always a lot of fun. For me, it's I have anxiety about the ride, make sure my horse is okay and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's a lot of work. Once I get there, I'm very attentive to the horse and what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a lot of fun, and I really miss pre-COVID. There used to be a lot more parties, and
Yeah.
the night after the ride, there'd always be meetings and parties, and that doesn't happen quite as much anymore. So I do miss that part of it. It's great fun.
So on to Barney. So could you tell me, this month on Endurance Horse Podcast, it's all about the Missouri Fox Trotter, and that was the reason I called you, because you have an amazing one called Barney Single Shot. Can you tell me about him and how you found him and picked him?
Oh, yeah. Barney's been so much fun. And I saw him on literally a 5-second video. And he just looked awesome. He had a beautiful gait, and his conformation was great. Although, you couldn't see his legs much on the video.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very forward, and he just, looked great. So I bought him off of that 5-second video. Was unable to get a vet check because he was in the mountains in Colorado somewhere, and there were no veterinarians. So I went ahead and shipped him out. Unfortunately, they had put him into reining training as a 3-year-old, and he had some injuries. So there was 2 years of rehabbing his injuries. I'd start him back to work, and then I'd have to pull him off again. So I didn't think he would ever make it as an endurance horse. And I'm amazed here, 20 years later, that he was able to do it, and he loved it.
So what was it about Barney's conformation that spoke to you and said, this is going to be a good pick for me?
He is very balanced in terms of, if you put a horse into 3 sections, the front, the middle, and the back, and he's very balanced between those 3 sections of his body. And he has a long hip, and the croup does not drop down too far as it does in many gaited horses. He basically has a really nice, lightweight quarter horse type of conformation that I really liked. When he did come out and I did see him, there were some other problems in terms of his front feet toe out, and he's a little sickle-hawked, and, nothing is perfect, but neither am I. So it works out okay.
That's what I was just thinking, like, oh, I might toe out or something too,
Yeah. yeah. So, no horse or no person are perfect, but he's done very well. So it's worked out well.
So I think we covered this in our pre-conversation, but I'm going to ask again to make sure I have it recorded. But what made you decide a Missouri Fox Trotter was the breed for you?
I didn't know anything about gaited horses, so when I found I couldn't ride Arabs, I decided to go to gaited horses. I didn't know anything about them. So Barney just happened to be the one that I saw in his video that I really liked. And he's done well. I will say that gaited horses and Missouri Fox Trotters are not Arabs. There have been some Fox Trotters that have done extremely well in endurance, but certainly not with the gusto that Arabians have and the numbers that Arabians have in endurance. And Barney has to stay for the first part of his career. He has to stay at 5 miles an hour, and otherwise he doesn't have the metabolics and he doesn't recover well enough. So I had to fight to keep him down to 5 because he wanted to go up to the front and he wanted to win, but metabolically he could not do that. So I think the Missouri Fox Trotter has very, very nice running walk, and that's great for endurance as long as you don't want to win or don't need to win. It's very smooth. It can be 5 to 6 to 7 miles an hour of a running walk, and you can get through a whole ride on just that running walk, and it's extremely smooth and very nice to ride.
That sounds like a Cadillac ride to me.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So to cool him down, so do you have, if somebody is riding a non-traditional, endurance horse, to keep them cool with the bigger muscles, do you have any tips or tricks for that?
I tend to clip him a lot, and I have done full body clips on him at times because he does have trouble in the heat, and he does better in the spring and the early summer or the late fall. So yeah, I will give him like a complete clip, head to toe. That really helps. I train in the heat of the day so that they can get used to it, and also you can go a little slower and not kind of burn up their legs so much, and still get your cardio workout. So that's the thing that I found I do differently than everyone else. I go out when it's 100 degrees out, and I just go slow, and I train in the heat, and that I have found very helpful. Everyone else seems to get out there at 9 a.m. and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, you want your horses used to the heat, you just go a lot slower, So that's the trick that I've used that's worked very well for me.
To emphasize that it's important, especially you can speak to that as a vet, that they're not working hard, they're working slow in hot weather.
Yes, and I have a heart rate monitor, so I can keep track of his heart rate and be very specific about my training, which I find very helpful too.
So on to Barney's personality. What makes him special, not just as an endurance horse, but as your partner?
Barney has been so much fun. He loves people. He has a great personality. He likes to show off. So he always thought at 5 miles an hour that he was winning that endurance ride. He was convinced that he was going to win it. And my upper arm strength was so good when I was riding him because he was so hard to keep back. And once I was riding the day before the endurance ride, and I went out about a mile just to check out the start and the trail. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot something. So I turned around to try to go back to camp, and he pitched a fit. He didn't want to go to camp. He wanted to go out on that trail and see what was going on. And he then took off heading away from camp because he wants to see what's around every corner. He's just amazing that way. He's so much fun.
I have a little mare. She's very much like that because I'll go to a trail that has loops and I'll come back like, okay, we're going to be done. She hard takes a turn and no, we're going down this trail now. And she knows where that trailer is. She can see it, and she turns away and she's like, no, we're going back out. Yeah. So I find that a fun thing to bring up because, like you said about your other mare in our other conversation, that she just wasn't into it. But some horses are really into endurance, and they want to get out there with you. I just saw a video of Flash the pony the other day. He self-loads. He wants to go. He just takes himself from the barn and gets right on the trailer and goes. So I think it's important that I'm sure you agree. We've picked a sport, and then you pick the horse that likes the sport. And then you can, that's so much stacked in your favor right there.
Oh, yes. They need to love it. And I remember Dave Nicholson once saying the reason why he continues to do this is the horses are having so much fun. And it's true. They have you pick the horses that really enjoy this and have a great time.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit because you're one of the first people we're going to be talking to that has had the honor of the Decade Team. So we really double stacked the benefit of this content because not only is the Missouri Fox Trotter, but also you and Barney got an extreme endurance honor, which was 10 years of competition together. So could you tell me a little bit about what that meant to you to be reaching for that goal, why you chose it, and what it meant when you reached it?
I think it's such a wonderful goal in endurance to want to have a horse that can go for 10 years and do the sport for 10 years. There's not too many equine sports that you can do that with. For instance, reining or cow horses, they tend to not be able to last a whole long time. So I think it really speaks to the horsemanship of our sport that we can have horses that can do this for 10 years. And there's even some double decade horses out there, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a really good way to show that your horse is able to go on and is healthy and has not been overworked in his life to the point where they're lame or have other issues. So I think it's a really great goal to achieve. Mm-hmm. I was never interested in winning anything. I just wanted to be out there and have a great time and have the horse have a great time, and the horse stays sound for many, many years. I think that that's a great goal.
I think that's what's appealing about endurance is there is the cumulative miles that can be your goal, and the Turtle Award could be your goal. Or if more rides decide to do this, you could have the goal of mid-pack, which is something that I have sponsored as the podcast, a couple of the mid-pack awards where they just find who was the middle of the pack, because I think that the majority of the people in the event aren't riding for the front. And I think that if somebody just rides their best ride, they can be sitting there excited going, maybe I'm going to get the mid-pack award or the turtle. Yes. I could just slow down and get the turtle award. So I think that's super cool about endurance is that you have that flexibility to walk away with this assignment of so many miles and complete that assignment and have the pride of it. Endurance is kind of more bang for your buck because you get this whole experience, your horse gets vetted out so many times, and you get your miles. So looking back over your 10 years plus with Barney, what do you think mattered the most to have you achieve such longevity with him?
Definitely keeping his speed down, which I've mentioned was very difficult because he really wanted to go. But keeping his speed down and, good solid training. And, I never did anything very fast with him. I think arena work is great, flat work, basically. I couldn't call it dressage work, but flat work and flexibility and all of that is very important.
How long do you think it takes to, when you're building a base on a horse? So you said you have a different horse that you're riding now. And so when you're starting off with a different horse new, in your mind, do you sketch out kind of an outline of, okay, like this is going to be a year of this and a year of that before I ask this of my horse, for example?
For me, with these gaited horses, it depends on the horse. Of course, you always want your long, slow distance. And Barney had the absolute long, slow distance rides, being 5 miles an hour for most of his career. So,
see, I have to start over because I touched my mic. I have a new mic and it kind of, I talk with my hands even though you're not in the room. I'm sorry. I need to sit on my hands. So the question was, if you're starting out a completely new horse, and you have, as a veterinarian, as a rider, as an endurance veteran, how do you build that base on a horse who just came out of the pasture?
I start them very slowly. Each horse is different. And for instance, I have a Rocky Mountain horse now that had been raced quite a bit before I got him at the age of 11. And it was 5 years, I felt. Well, he had EPM for one, but it was 5 years before he was ready to go fast. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't have the muscle strength. Now, he wanted to go fast, but during all that time, I was working on flat work, walking hills, And that horse really, in my mind, took 5 years before he could go fast. And, then he was like 17 by that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends. With the gaited horses, each horse is so different and their previous experiences have been different. With the Arabs, you kind of have an advantage because they're bred for this, the parental history and what those horses could do. So you can have kind of a, 1 year I'll do, 25s, and then the next year I'll do slow 50s, and then the next year. But with these gaited horses, they're all different. And I think that they take more time and they need more slow work than Arabs, in my experience.
Are you a proponent of trying back-to-back 25s before you go to 50s?
I think that would be a great idea, slow 25s. I personally didn't do that because I tend to not ride 2 days in a row. I'm just, old and arthritic. So I need the time in between, but I think it was a great idea.
So for riders who are just starting out in endurance, what advice would you give them? You started basically at 50, you said? Or is that when you came?
I did.
Say there's a random 50-year-old listening who loves trail riding, and they're like, I think maybe I'm going to try this. So what advice would you give them as they're starting out to plan their first year up to their first ride?
I would say to try to find a mentor and to go slow, get out there on the trail with your horse and get out there as often as you can and ride slowly and work up to it. And your first 25, after a year or so of trail riding and going slow, your first 25, again, you want to just go real slow so that you know your horse and get to know your recovery. So, and also getting yourself in shape is very important, especially at this age. I did a lot of hiking, which was helpful. I wanted to be sure that I could hike 5 miles, hike my horse out if I had to. I think that's very important. Slow consistency is the way to go.
In what ways do Missouri Fox Trotters shine on the trail? So we've covered, they're not Arabian, but they have their own qualities that make them a great trail partner, and I think I love that endurance. You can decide I'm just riding for miles or I'm just doing this many rides a year. And I think if you're not wanting to be a hot shoe and you're not wanting to run out front, what would it be that would make somebody pick a Missouri Fox Trotter that say, this would be my great partner out on the trail? What is it about the Fox Trotter that's different?
It's definitely the walk. The big 5 mile an hour walk is so pleasant and such a wonderful thing. So I think that's a really good reason. And also they're great personalities. They're very willing. They're very sweet. They love people. They love attention. That's very important too.
What did you think you did right with Barney that made him stay sound and successful for over a decade? Was it just all the LSD work, long, slow distance?
Yes, that was a big factor. The other thing is even though I am a veterinarian, I have a lameness veterinarian who is excellent. And she would come out every 3 to 6 months and go over him and check all of his muscles. And she would ultrasound him and make sure that everything is okay. And we would catch little things. You want to catch things before they become big things. So I would say, I just feel like he's stepping a little short on that right hind. And we would look into it and we would figure it out. And we would treat him for that with, shockwave or SES and that really made a huge difference. And there's no doubt in my mind that she kept this horse and all my horses sound through their careers. And so what we were doing was working the shockwave in particular. And I have my own shockwave machine, and that's been extremely helpful for his muscles and his joints. So many, many modalities, and it's whatever works,
Yeah.
I did have some body work done on occasion. The horses really enjoy that, and I think that that can be very valuable. So many modalities, and there's so many of them, and it's whatever works for you.
So if you could go back and tell your earlier endurance self one thing, that person from the first year or two of riding, if you could send her a message back, what would you tell her?
Well, this probably isn't the answer that you're looking for, but when I was 50 and started endurance and found that I would be riding gaited horses, I thought I should start breeding them, but I thought, well, I'm too old to start breeding because in gaited horses, we don't have the background that you do in Arabians of, horses that were good race horses or were successful in endurance. You don't have that because there's not as many of them that have been successful in endurance. So I do wish that I would have started breeding at the age of 50 because now I'm 70 and I'm like, well, why didn't I start?
Yeah.
Why didn't I start when I was 50? I would have some really great gaited endurance horses now.
So you mentioned earlier about the little black horse that you're riding that you did Tevis on. Can you tell, he's Missouri Fox Trotter also?
No, he is a registered Rocky Mountain. And he's a small horse. He was, I think, a little bit of a runt. His dam had placental problems. Mm-hmm. So he's small, but he's must have a large heart. I haven't had him ultrasounded to see the size of his heart, but he has excellent recoveries. And he is, he's fast. I needed to, again, work to keep him slow for a lot of years. But yes, he's a Rocky Mountain. I've had several other Missouri Fox Trotters that were really not appropriate for the sport, although they were wonderful trail horses.
Are there any common health management rider errors that you see as a veterinarian? You wish you could have told that person some little tidbit, a treasure of advice. What do you see that you wish you could help somebody correct?
I think the thing I've noticed the most that I would like to say something about is horses that are working, what we say upside down, with they're not using their backs and their heads are too high and they're not traveling properly in a collected way. So I will sometimes think, boy, it would be really nice if that horse could have some dressage work and some flat work. And also, walking hills is helpful for that. So I think that's something that is getting better in the endurance world. People are understanding that now, which is great. But I do think that flat work, arena type of work is very important.
And that comes up a lot. I've had some pretty winning riders on here, and they say exactly that. A couple of them that have won Tevis or won the Hagen Cup, and a lot of them say hills, and you don't have to go up them fast, just go up them, and the other one has been arena work so that you're building those muscles, and then you don't necessarily have a horse to ride that way on the trail, but you can encourage them to and then leave them alone, and have those carrying muscles. But that's true. That is a tough thing to see when you see a horse that the whole underneath of the neck is muscled and the top isn't, and then the back is muscles, almost looks like they don't exist, and then the rump goes, how that whole thing goes. The horse starts looking like a U. Just to be aware of it, and if they don't know how to fix it, kind of look into it is a good thing. So for looking ahead, what are your plans for next year?
I have other life issues going on. I have a 98-year-old mother that's taking up a lot of my time, and I just had a second knee replacement. So for me, 2026, I won't be riding very much. So sadly, I'm going to miss it.
I've heard good things about the knee replacements, though, that it can be life-changing.
Yes, my right knee has done very, very well. The left knee, I'm only 2 months out, but it's doing okay. And I have some fantasy in my 70-year-old brain that I will be able to post again, and maybe I can go back to Arabs. So that's because my horses now are all in their early 20s. So. I'm
there with you. I have one horse that's 5, and he's I don't think he's good endurance material, honestly, because even before he's not really started, but just through his young life, he's an Appaloosa that has very small feet for the size of his body, and he's been
Mm-hmm.
off for this or that reason with like a little abscess
Yeah.
or something. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because nobody's even working you. Like, this
Yeah.
is not looking well for the future here. So, and I'm one that retires my horses, and so there's only so much room here. So
Right,
I'm
yeah.
enjoying my old horses being old. And,
Yeah.
maybe someday I will end up with an endurance horse again, but we'll see. I don't have a good feeling about my prospects with the Appy. What does it mean to finish is to win when you're out on the trail? Do you carry that motto kind of in your head?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just so happy to be able to finish with a healthy horse and with, me, well, I'm usually pretty wiped out, but as long as the horse is healthy at the end of the ride, then I'm very happy, and I really enjoy doing the aftercare, rubbing the legs down and walking them and giving them little massages and all of that. I really enjoy that.
Ashley, as we are wrapping up here, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your journey and your wisdom and your partnership with Barney. And I hope we encouraged someone else to stop and take a look at the Missouri Fox Trotter, because they are a very viable option for an endurance horse. And it sounds like a very comfortable one, too. So,
Yes, extremely so.
if there's one message you'd like to leave my listeners with, one thing to take away with them today about endurance, horses, or life in the long game, what would that be?
My advice would be to enjoy your horse, enjoy the friends on the trail, take great care of your horse, and go slow. No need to rush into anything or to rush through an endurance ride. Enjoy the scenery and enjoy the camaraderie.
That's great advice coming from a Decade Team rider, because if you just go in slow, just enjoying the ride, you can be enjoying that same horse for 10 years plus. So that's great
Yes,
advice.
absolutely.
So thank you so much for being part of Endurance Horse Podcast and for everything you've given to our sport.
Well, thank you, and thank you for doing these podcasts. They're just wonderful.
And that's a wrap for the first episode of 2026. As part of that celebration, we have a free gift for you. It is our free online Year of the Horse Journal, where you can track your miles. You don't have to join any of the challenges to enjoy this free journal. It's our gift to you. It's free. You can do it. All you have to do is create a login to enjoy it. And somebody wanted to put their barn cat on the journal, so we made a place to add your barn cat too. So it's really fun. You can check it out. So if you think you're interested in this journal and you want to check it out right now, you can go to yearofthehorse.warhorseendurance.com. And I'm getting good feedback. It looks good. It's fun. Thank you so much for listening and sharing this podcast and for being part of this journey with us. Happy trails. After all, this is the Year of the Horse.